Yesterday, the art world lost one of its most relentless contrarians. Georg Baselitz did not simply paint pictures, he built a career on resistance. Every canvas, every figure, every mark was part of a larger refusal. A refusal to accept that images should behave, that meaning should come easily, or that history could ever be resolved into something stable. Born in 1938 into the collapsing structure of wartime Germany, Baselitz did not inherit a clean cultural foundation. He inherited rupture, and instead of repairing it, he worked directly within it. His paintings carry that weight, not as narrative, not as illustration, but as presence. In his world, the heroic and the abject are not opposites. They coexist, constantly collapsing into each other. The strong becomes fragile. The figure becomes unstable. Identity itself feels like it's slipping, and that instability is not accidental. To look at a Baselitz is not to receive an image, it is to confront one. His figures do not present themselves, they resist you. They sag, distort, fracture. They refuse to stand upright, both literally and psychologically. What you are seeing is not just a body, it is a body under pressure, under history, under memory, under the unresolved tension of a past that refuses to settle. Baselitz understood something most artists avoid, that clarity can be dishonest, that coherence can be a kind of lie. So instead of offering resolution, he gave us disruption. And in that disruption, he built a language that does not comfort, but endures. In 1969, Georg Baselitz did something that, on the surface, looked almost absurd. He turned his paintings upside down, not once, not as an experiment, but as a decision that would define his entire practice. At first glance, it feels like a provocation, almost like a joke played on the viewer. You walk up to the work expecting to recognize something, a figure, a body, a scene, and instead you are met with disorientation. The image is there, but it refuses to cooperate. But this was never about shock. Baselitz wasn't trying to destroy representation. He wasn't interested in abandoning the figure the way many artists around him had already done. Instead, he wanted to keep the figure, but remove its authority. Because the problem for him was not the image itself. It was the dominance of the image, the way it controls how you look, the way it immediately tells you what something is, before you even have time to feel it. So he interrupted that process. By inverting the motif, Baselitz creates a gap, a delay between seeing and understanding. You recognize the form, but you can't settle into it. Your brain keeps trying to correct it, to flip it back, to restore order, but the painting refuses. And in that moment of resistance, something else begins to take over. You stop reading, and you start looking. The figure, once dominant, begins to dissolve into paint. What was once a body becomes a structure. What was once an identity becomes an arrangement. Thick strokes of flesh tones dragged across the surface. Violent cuts of color that don't blend, they collide. The painting stops being about what is depicted and becomes entirely about how it exists. This is the shift. This is the real inversion. Because what Baselitz flips is not just the image, it's the hierarchy. Narrative falls to the background. Material comes forward. Gesture becomes the subject. And suddenly the painting is no longer something you decode, it's something you confront. There's a physicality to it, a weight. The brush strokes feel heavy, almost stubborn, like they've been forced into place. Nothing feels delicate, nothing feels resolved. It's unstable, and that instability is the point, because Baselitz is not offering you a world that makes sense. He's showing you a world that has already broken and cannot be put back together. The upside-down figure becomes a kind of event, not an image, but a disruption, a tectonic shift across the surface of the canvas. You can feel the pressure in it, like something underneath is pushing upward, distorting everything above it. And yet, despite all this, the figure never fully disappears. It lingers, half recognizable, half lost. You know it's there, but you can't fully access it. And that tension between recognition and confusion, between form and collapse, is where the work lives. This is why the inversion matters. Not because it looks different, but because it changes how you experience the act of painting itself. You're no longer passive, you're involved. Your perception is being tested, stretched, interrupted. You're forced to slow down, to question what you're seeing, to sit inside the discomfort of not fully understanding. And that discomfort is not a failure of the work, it is the work. Baselitz once made it clear, he did not flip the image to confuse the viewer, he flipped it to free himself, to escape the expectations attached to representation, to paint without being trapped by meaning. And in doing so, he created something rare, a painting that refuses to explain itself, a painting that resists completion, a painting that, like a scream, carries intensity without needing a clear origin. It doesn't tell you why it exists, it simply exists, and it demands that you deal with it. His surfaces are not calm, they don't sit quietly. They feel worked over, pushed, stressed, like something has happened to them. To stand in front of a painting by Georg Baselitz is to realize very quickly that you are not just looking at an image, you are looking at an event that has already taken place. The surface holds it. Every mark feels like a decision made under pressure. Thick paint dragged across the canvas. Areas that feel overworked, almost abused. Nothing is smoothed out, nothing is hidden. You can see the struggle in the making. His paintings are not built to impress you with beauty. They are built to carry weight, and that weight comes from somewhere very specific. Baselitz belongs to a generation that inherited a broken history. Post-war Germany was not just a place, it was a condition, a psychological landscape filled with silence, denial, and unresolved memory. And instead of stepping away from that, Baselitz moved directly into it, but not through storytelling, not through illustration, through material, because for him, paint was not just a medium, it was evidence. Evidence of action, evidence of force. Evidence of something being pulled out rather than carefully constructed. And this is where his process becomes important. Whether in painting, printmaking, or sculpture, Baselitz doesn't build gently, he extracts. His monumental woodblock prints carry this especially well. The cuts are aggressive. The lines feel carved rather than drawn. You can almost feel the resistance of the wood itself, the physical effort it takes to break into the surface. These are not delicate prints, they are confrontational. The image doesn't sit on the surface, it feels torn out of it. And then there are the sculptures, rough, splintered, direct. Baselitz approaches wood the same way he approaches paint, with force. Using chainsaws and crude tools, he cuts into the material without trying to refine it into something polished. The marks remain visible. The violence remains visible. You are never allowed to forget how the object was made. And that's the point, because what he is dealing with cannot be smoothed over. There is a kind of deliberate unsightliness in his work, a rejection of anything that feels too clean, too resolved, too easy to accept. He avoids beauty, not because he can't achieve it, but because he doesn't trust it. Beauty in this context feels like a cover, a way of avoiding what's underneath. Baselitz refuses that. Instead, he leans into awkwardness, into imbalance, into surfaces that feel uncomfortable to look at for too long. And in doing so, he aligns himself with artists like Gerhard Richter and Anselm Kiefer, figures who also grappled with the weight of German history, but each in their own language. Where Richter blurs and Kiefer monumentalizes, Baselitz disturbs. He digs, not with a clear plan, but with urgency. There's a restless energy in his work, like he's searching for something that never fully reveals itself. Each piece feels like an attempt, not to resolve the past, but to expose its presence. Layer by layer, mark by mark, cut by cut, and what emerges is not clarity, it's residue, fragments of something that cannot be fully reconstructed. This is why his surfaces matter. Because they are not just formal decisions, they are psychological ones. They carry memory, not as narrative, but as pressure. You don't read it, you feel it. In the density of the paint, in the resistance of the material, in the refusal of the work to settle into something comfortable. Baselitz doesn't give you an image you can move past. He gives you a surface that holds you there, and the longer you stay with it, the more you begin to understand that what looks chaotic is actually precise, that what feels violent is intentional, and that what appears unresolved was never meant to be resolved at all.